Once again, my name is Lita Downs, and I would like to welcome you to today's session, which is part of the Faculty Leading the Change, powered by the Office of Teaching and Learning Excellence. We specialize in faculty training and professional development. If you have any questions about today's session or any previous or upcoming sessions, please don't hesitate to reach out at the email on the screen. Today's session is qualified for 1 contact hour for nursing. Walden University is accredited as a provider of nursing continuing professional development by the American Nurses Credentialing Centers Commission on Accreditation. There'll be more information at the end of today's session on how to claim that hour. Today's topic is addressing the role of AI in promoting critical thinking and problem-solving skills among MBA students. This study was part of a 2024 Riedel Grant research. Today's presenters are Alberto Roldan-lopez and Holly Duckworth. Dr. Lopez is a core faculty member in the College of Management and Human Potential, and Holly Duckworth is also a contributing faculty member in CMHP. At this point, I'm going to turn things over to you, Dr. Duckworth. Welcome.
Thank you, Lita. I appreciate being here. All right. Unfortunately, Alberto couldn't be here with us today, so I'll be presenting the results of our research that was associated, as Lita said, with the 2024 Riedel Grant. So next slide. We were really fortunate to be awarded this grant, and the grant is specific. Walden University awards this grant for research that is looking at enhancements to Walden University's learning model. For our research, our specific aims were to really better understand the adoption of AI tools. And we wanted to look at 2 things. We wanted to look at learning outcomes and the student experience. So as I go through, you're going to see kind of 2 halves to the same research. One is, how did the use of AI affect the learning model, so the instruction side of the collaboration between Walden and its students. And then the flip side of that, the students' side, and what were the students' perceptions of the use of AI. We wanted to provide an understanding of the benefits and challenges associated with integrating AI to the Walden University learning model. And as you guys know, if you're students, that the Walden University learning model is a very interesting learning model, and especially in the MBA program, which is where we were focusing our research. It's one that is very integrative with the students' lived experience and with the students' professional experience. So quite different than some other university learning models. So it was interesting to us to see how was the use of AI going to benefit or challenge our specific learning model, which leans heavily on student lived experience. We wanted to offer evidence-based insight. So we started this research a little over a year ago. The AI, the artificial intelligence landscape is like changing really, really fast. And at that point, when we first started, well, it's been about 18 months really since we were awarded the grant and then designed the research and started the research. And at that time, honestly, there was a lot of concern. AI was really clunky, really, there wasn't a big consensus on specific tools, and there was a lot of hallucination and inaccurate information coming through in a lot of these AI tools. So it was a moment in time when there was a lot of consternation and unknowns associated with AI. We actually did a lot of literature research. Before our research, no one had done any sort or published any sort of evidence-based insight. There was a lot of opinion and a lot of concern voiced, but no one had actually gone in and tested, well, what does the use of AI actually do? So we wanted to contribute to that, to offer evidence-based insight. Next slide, Lita. So what we did, we ended up targeting 50 MBA students or graduates. And these were not necessarily Walden graduates, but anybody who may have graduated from an MBA program and then Walden students. We ended up with the vast majority of our participants were current MBA students in the College of Management and Human Potential. The research design, it was a mixed method research, which means that we had both quantitative and qualitative data that we were interested in. Our quantitative data was interested in that Walden University learning model, so the instruction side of the interest. And our quantitative data included writing samples as graded to a rubric, and then a test of reading comprehension. So we had scores on a writing assignment and a test of reading comprehension. On our qualitative data was focused on the student-facing side. And so we wanted to understand the subjective perceptions of both motivation and satisfaction among students between a group that used AI for a writing assignment and a group that did not use AI for the writing assignment. And as I'm going to share, some very, very interesting results came out of the qualitative data. Next slide, Lita. So you had two hypotheses. The first one was utilizing AI tools for composing short papers enhances learning outcomes among MBA students at Walden University. The hope is, or was, that students who interacted with a specific AI tool gained information, gained insight in collaboration with the AI tool that would then enhance their writing product. Our second hypothesis, again, one hypothesis on the learning model side, another hypothesis on the student experience side. So our second hypothesis was there's a positive relationship between student engagement with AI-supported learning experience in the levels of student motivation and satisfaction. So we thought that that the use of AI might enhance the student experience, might, writing with a partner, be it an AI partner, might be an enjoyable and motivating thing to do with our students. So those are kind of our two hypotheses, again, learning model and student experience. Next slide, Lita. So this is a very wordy slide, so I'm going to go through it. I didn't want to share, I didn't want to have it recorded, what are the very specific information about our research instructions for our participants. So what we asked is actually a basic, we borrowed from a basic discussion writing assignment in our actual MBA program. And we asked the students to read a 5-minute read for a short case study that Alberto and myself created for the research that talked about the difference between leadership and management. So a very, very fundamental topic in the MBA program. And so we asked to write 100 to 150 word paper, so like a discussion assignment, talking about whether leadership and management are the same or different and providing rationale to support your answers. And like we do in many, many, many of our discussions, we asked the writers, our research participants, to consider one or more examples that they have known or worked with to serve in supporting their example. So again, here's the very nature of Walden University's unique, I think, learning model, which is in the writing assignment, we're asking the student to contribute something about their lived experience, their professional experience as a supporting example. So it's not just synthesizing the information in the case study that they read and their understanding of leadership and management, but also substantiating then that topic with their own professional experience. So we had two groups, control group and treatment group. The control group was specifically prompted to not use artificial intelligence or chatbot sources in any way, shape, or form, just to write as they would normally write without the use of AI. The treatment group, we directed them to go to ChatGPT. So ChatGPT was our AI tool, and we asked them to use ChatGPT as a resource in their writing. We asked them to use a free account if they didn't have an account already. And we gave them a specific prompt, the prompt for the discussion assignment, to use the chatbot to write a draft paper for you, and then use the chatbot output as a reference only as they write their original paper, and ask them to cite the chatbot reference. So the treatment group that used AI, we very intentionally did not constrain them on how much they use the chatbot, but just to use it in their draft writing and then to write from that. So use it as a reference only. We did not test for alignment with those instructions. So in reality, our AI treatment group were really, they had their own freedom of how much or how little they used the ChatGPT output in their final writing product. Okay, next slide, Lita. I think we have a question here. Curious, were the participants guided to use any of the Walden AI resources or tutorials as well? They were not. They were not. In the feedback that we got, I would say overwhelmingly the treatment group participants were not familiar with ChatGPT. This was their first foray into collaborating with ChatGPT, and we did not instruct them or teach them or direct them in any way. And that was intentional. We wanted them to be able to kind of mumble fumble intentionally into how, and to see how they would use ChatGPT in their writing. Thank you, Amy. All right, so we recruited 50 people. We ended up with 45 writing samples that we could use, 45 samples in general, where we had 45 participants complete all of the required action points. And of those 45 samples, 20 were in our control group and 25 were in our treatment group. So there were some samples that we had to delete because of either incomplete work tasks. I think that was pretty much the only reason we deleted. They might have completed the writing, but not the surveys, or vice versa. We sent all of the writing assignments to a current faculty member in the MBA program that was not involved in the research, so a third party, if you will, for grading. And all of the, we had a rubric, of course, for the grading for the assignment, and our third party grader then graded the full 45 sample set blindly. So she did not know which paper was with the use of AI and which wasn't. We stripped any references to AI or any identifiers of if the person was in the treatment group or the control group. We also then ended up with 45 comprehension test scores. So this was just a very simple 5-item test score on the case study that was to be read in preparation for the writing assignment. So we had that. So those were our 2 points of quantitative data. And then we had 45 freeform text responses on student participation, on their perceptions of their motivation, how motivated were they during their writing assignment, and then the same freeform text responses on their perception of their satisfaction with their writing output. How satisfied were they with their own work product? So that was the full data set that we were working with. Next slide, Lita. So I'm gonna orient our outcomes with, again, both the instructor side perception and then the student side perception. So with our quantitative data, of course, these are our test scores, they're integers, and so we used non-parametric statistical analysis for our analysis, and we used specifically the Kruskal-Wallis test results for non-parametric data. On the writing assignment scores, now again, these are 45 papers that were sent off to a third-party grader who had no idea who did or who didn't use AI in their writing. And we found no statistically significant difference in the two groups. So the grader could not detect which writing assignments were used with AI and which were the outcomes, the scores to the rubric were the same for both groups. So the results suggest a potential effect that warrants, so no difference in the writing itself. On the comprehension test scores, so again, this is just a 5 item, so it's a score of 1 to 5. Again, we use the Kruskal-Wallis test result, non-parametric for non-parametric data. And our p-value was 0.068 to a significance level of 0.05. So very marginal. I mean, in a pure sense, to a p-value of 0.05, we would need to say that there is no significant difference, but there could be a marginal difference. So the results suggest a potential effect that frankly warrants further investigation. The descriptive statistics for the comprehension test score for the treatment group showed a mean of 4.08 out of 5. And a median of 4 for the control group out of a possible 5. I'm sorry, 4.65 out of a possible 5. So the control group, the people who did not use AI, if we look at just the mean of their test scores in the test of comprehension, we do see a higher level of comprehension for the case study than the treatment group. So there is marginal significance, perhaps indicating that the comprehension test scores are better for the control group, for people that didn't use AI. We can attribute this to the fact that it is integer data, and so therefore very large sample sizes are needed for high levels of power, statistical power for the test. And so then that's the further investigation that we would warrant, is to have a much, much, much larger sample set for tests of comprehension. You know, the concern being is that those people that knew, which they did, that they were going to use AI for their test of comprehension, frankly, may not have read the case study at all, or skimmed the case study and allowed then the ChatGPT to read the case study for them. We can't conclude that, but that would be what we would be looking for further research. All right, next slide. So that was our learning outcomes. The conclusion is there's no significant difference with the use of AI in the learning outcomes of a brief writing assignment. Now remember, the brief writing assignment also required the inclusion of experience, the student experience. So, and that is a general learning model that we use in the MBA program. So it could be that there was no difference because the students couldn't cut and paste from ChatGPT. They had to use that output as a draft to then be able to integrate with their lived experience. So there's a moderate caution, though, on comprehension, with the AI users scoring lower on tests of reading comprehension. So our conclusions, our advice then, which we've already presented this to the MBA program, all of the faculty and administrators, and we're in the MBA program, we're taking this into consideration. And so our conclusion is the use of AI does not enhance learning outcomes for writing assignments. The students that did not use AI at all scored just as well on this discussion style brief writing assignment. Walden University's existing emphasis on integrating professional skills may contribute to this result. An emphasis on sharing professional experience in writing assignments does not lend itself to enhancements using AI. So when we have to integrate our lived experience, the AI is really of marginal benefit to drafting a writing assignment. And then further study is really needed in terms of this reading comprehension. All right, next slide, Lita. Okay, so that was the instruction side of the research. Now moving over to the student experience. So the first question, the first topic that we were interested in is student motivation. So how motivated were you as you completed the assignment? You know, was it fun for you? Was it enjoyable? Were you interested in the topic? And so, of course, this is qualitative data. So we used qualitative analysis. We used axial coding and analysis for our qualitative data research. And on motivation, the treatment group was much more likely to note motivation towards AI, the use of AI as a novelty. So we saw comments like, I was fascinated about AI. I didn't know AI could do this. I was highly motivated because I wanted to see the performance of AI towards my own personal reasoning. And overall, I was excited because I was using AI to analyze a real life challenge. And I was surprised with the results I was getting from ChatGPT. So when it came to motivation to do the writing assignment, our treatment group was really coalesced around the idea of the novelty of AI. They were very excited and motivated to kind of test the waters with AI and see how AI would help them do their writing assignment. The control group, on the other hand, was much more likely to express interest in the management topic. So the writing topic was exploring the difference between management and leadership. And for the control group, we got comments along the lines of, I was very motivated to complete the assignment because I feel that aspects are relevant to my present field of work, and it allowed me to provide solutions which I can implement at work. Leadership versus management is an interesting topic of discussion, so I look forward to investigating the matter and develop my own conclusions. So the control group gave us answers around motivation that were much more aligned to an interest in the topic, an interest in understanding, genuinely understanding this difference between leadership and management. So we see a really, really big difference in the kinds of response we got on motivation between the two groups. Next slide, Lita. And then we asked another freeform text response about satisfaction. How satisfied were you with your work product? How satisfied were you with your writing? And for the treatment group, we also then got very different responses from the two groups in this reply. So for the treatment group, responses noted the positive satisfaction with AI facilitating the outcome. So the folks that use ChatGPT, we got comments like the assignment came out even better than I expected it to do. I have to reassess the output from ChatGPT to mine to actually compute it because it gave a better solution than I did. I was really impressed with the results of the AI. It asked for my inputs, which then I used to formulate my assignment. And it came out better than I expected. Apparently, ChatGPT has had more updates. So there was a lot of positive impressions with the AI output. So people were impressed with what ChatGPT did for them. Very different responses in the control group. They were more highly satisfied, more likely to mention the quality of their writing. So we saw comments like, I was extremely satisfied and I feel that I had a good quality of writing. I was very satisfied. I was able to state my points and provide real life examples for them. And the final writing was good. The control group was much more likely to note a high level of satisfaction with their written work, so in their own assessment of the work. So again, we see with the treatment group, more of an emphasis on the novelty of the AI, impressions with the AI itself rather than the writing. And with the control group, we see much more introspection and pride in the writing itself. Lita, next slide. So our conclusions with the student experience are frankly concerning. Overall, there was an observable difference between treatment group and control group in student reflection on their motivation and satisfaction, a big difference between the two groups. The difference is concerning in that the absence of AI presented student reflections that were more intrinsically motivated and self-satisfied with their learning process. So the control group was much more introspected and intrinsically impressed with their work product. The AI group was much more reflective of the novelty of AI, the impressions with AI, the kind of the excitement of getting to use AI as a tool. So our conclusions are for the MBA program is consistent intention to integrating real world experience to build professional confidence and study application is recommended. The concern here is that, of course, AI is getting less and less and less novel and more normal. And of course, ChatGPT itself has, I think, since we were doing our research, we were on version 4, and I think it's up to version 8 now, or 6 or 8. And so the AI tools themselves are rapidly improving. But there's still this concern that when we partner with an AI tool to help us do our learning, are we taking away the students' intrinsic motivation, their intrinsic pride in their work product? If we get into a mode of cut and paste in and out of ChatGPT, are we taking away the joy of the learning process? That's the concern. And so our advice then to the MBA program is to continue to pay careful attention to integrating the lived experience with a student to ensure that that integration happens, and that then therefore that integration, that introspection will then allow the intrinsic attitudes to continue to be present, and our learning experience doesn't just become cut paste in an external joyless kind of experience with an AI partner. Next slide. Okay, these are our references. And again, this body of knowledge, this particular topic, this particular body of research is moving so fast. But ironically, very, very, very few researchers are looking at the objective evidence of how does this affect the work product itself. So. All right, I think we have some time for questions, Lita, do we?
We sure do. And I'm going through and almost everybody is unmuted. So please feel free to chime in. We'd love to hear from you.
Hi, Holly. This is Debbie Sullivan.
Hey, Debbie.
Thank you for the presentation. It was really interesting. my perspective is that we probably need to be more creative and more on board with using artificial intelligence on our side, on the faculty side, and create ways to help students critically think by using the tool, because the tool is going to be there. And then helping students understand the appropriate use and how to use AI. For example, creating outlines or help like Grammarly, helping with grammar and things like that.
Yeah, and I think this message is also, because we have this evidence now, I think a message to the students is it doesn't help your grade, number one. And number two, it could really remove some joy from your own learning experience if leaned on too heavily. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, and most of the time they won't meet objectives. The expectations of an assignment. And there's still a lot of hallucinations on references, even using things like Scopus in the library. Yeah, so there's a lot to be learned, but it's moving fast, just like you said.
It is. Hang on. Yeah, thank you, Debbie. Okay,
Yeah.
I think there's a question in
Yes.
field. So from Kim, thanks so much, Holly. Other than a decrease in student joy, what practical real-world applications can we take away from this research to help us better serve our students in the age of AI? Yeah, and I think also, our hypothesis was that AI would enhance the writing, which it didn't. But I think we can also then inform students that nor did it harm the writing. So, you can use it, but it isn't going to help and it isn't going to hurt. And so I think that just probably like Debbie said, we need some really more formalized instruction, which Oasis has some great videos out there already in terms of how to use AI tools, for example, like outlining and researching, not necessarily writing. But I think there's much more opportunity there. And making sure that we include the caution of, because our learning model is interested in your lived experience, frankly, it isn't going to help you that much. It can be an interesting partner, but it really isn't going to write the paper for you. So I think that's one thing. Let's see, did I answer everything there for you, Kim? Yeah. I think just that cautionary tale, and then the caution that, you're here to have a learning experience, and don't let your AI partner take that away from you. Don't get into this rote cut, paste, cut, paste, cut, paste. Okay, Allison says, this is so fascinating. Thank you for sharing your research. It would be interesting to check back in the future when students have much more experience with AI. Yes, absolutely. There's a lot more research yet to be done. Absolutely, Allison. Maybe the novelty is less of an issue now, yeah, than when students have been using AI. Yeah, and AI itself is going to get better as it learns to hallucinate less and less. But I still think that we're advocating, and I don't see any change to Walden University changing its learning model of being heavily integrated with the lived experience of the students. So I think even as AI gets better, and even as the novelty wears off, because of the uniqueness of our learning model, I don't think things are going to change hugely or drastically, because we require, in all of our assignments, we require this integration of the professional experience for the MBA program and the lived experience for most students. Unlike other universities, where there might be a bigger preponderance of the cut, paste, and just have the AI complete the work for you. In which case, then, I can from what little bit of data that we've been able to gather, I have a big concern for universities that don't integrate the lived experience of the motivation and satisfaction of students just really being problematic, it being lifeless in terms of their just this rote, blind use of AI to complete assignments and removing the student from the joy of the learning experience entirely. Yeah. All right, Allison says, I'm with you, students are better off doing their own writing for the most part. Yeah, yeah. And this integration of the lived experience, I think, is key to Walden being unique and instrumental in requiring that of the students. AI can help, but it can't write your lived experience for you. All right. Any other questions? Oh, Kim says, you phrase AI partner is spot on, an excellent way to describe the way that AI assists in workflow. Yeah, I'll be stealing that phrase. Okay, all right, Allison. Yeah, that's how we want people to use it. You know, it's just another resource. It's just another reference tool, along with, you know, an example in our research, the case study, and the professional experience. Yeah, it's just another tool in the toolkit. That's all.
Fantastic. Such great information. I think we're kind of literally at the tip of the iceberg with research and what's going to evolve over just the next year or 2 years. So, oh, and Amy, any future plans to extend this research, Dr. Duckworth? I should love to see a similar study focusing on more research-based writing, maybe something more complex than
Right.
discussion post type.
Right, absolutely. I mean, we can see all sorts of avenues of research. We were wonderful supporters or receivers of the Riedel Grant, and you know, Walden University is a wonderful support for that kind of research. So, absolutely, I think both Alberto and myself would be interested in further grants and further research involved in this. And yeah, think about it in terms of dissertation writing, in terms of other technical writing, thesis type writing. There's a lot of avenues that this could take. A lot more research to be done. And we just used one AI tool, and there's the AI tools themselves are getting so specialized and focused and moving so fast. You know, in 5 years in the future, I can't even imagine what kind of specialized tools there will be specific to things like doctoral research. Yeah, it's mind-blowing.
Great. Well, I will be sending out a copy of today's recording along with PowerPoints. You'll receive an email. They'll also be posted on our OTLE site. Yes, thank you so much for sharing about your research and just taking part in Dr. Riedel's grant. Awesome, very awesome. So thank you. I am going to place a link for those of you who are looking to claim nursing continuing education credits. The link is in the chat, so please feel free to click on that. And if you have any problems claiming the credit, please reach out to lifelonglearning@mail.waldenu.edu. So I would just like to thank you, Dr. Duckworth, for all of this fabulous information. Thank you to our participants for joining and carving out an hour of your time today to soak this in and be willing to embrace the change with AI and also ride the wave as it takes us into the future. So thank you all. I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.